Hi everyone, and welcome to the China Marketing Podcast, the place to go to hear in-depth conversations with industry experts, influencers, and Chinese consumers about the latest consumer, product, and marketing trends in China. Each week, we aim to bring you tactical and thought-provoking content that will help you grow your business in China. The China Marketing Podcast is part of the Sinica Podcast Network, powered by SupChina. I'm your host, Lauren Hallinan. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are staying safe. And this week, we are talking once again about China's e-commerce live streaming industry. So last week, in episode 69, we discussed some of the key catchphrases that Chinese live streamers use to engage and entice their audience to buy products. And during that episode, we mentioned that this industry has experienced massive growth due to COVID-19. In fact, leading e-commerce live streaming platform Taobao Live reported that in early February, live stream sessions on their platform had increased by 110% year over year. So today I have my assistant Kejie back on the podcast, and we're discussing more specifically in what ways the Chinese e-commerce live streaming industry has grown over the past couple of months, how it's changed, and sharing some specific examples and case studies that we've seen over the past several months. We discussed things like how have some of the famous streamers like Austin Lee and Via adapted their product offerings to, meet the changes in consumer demand, the creative and sometimes odd ways that many traditionally offline businesses have begun using live streaming. We share our thoughts on WeChat and Xiaohongshu's newly launched live streaming functions. And we discuss whether we think the live streaming trend will continue post-COVID-19. If you're interested in the topic of e-commerce live streaming and you want to get a more practical view about what it's like to actually run an e-commerce live stream, to work with some of these top streamers, information about the kind of ROI that you can expect, how you should position e-commerce live streaming in your China strategy, then I'd encourage you to go back and listen to episode 58 with Ron Wardle. Ron has been involved in China marketing, launching businesses in China for a very long time, and he gave such a great interview. He's run a lot of e-commerce live streams with the top streamers, and he gave some incredible value. So definitely go back and listen to episode 58 if this is a topic that you're interested in. Before we get started with the episode, I just want to ask, if you are enjoying this episode, if you're enjoying other episodes, it would be really wonderful if you could leave us a rating and review on iTunes or, whatever platform that you're using. We would really appreciate the support, or if you feel like sharing this episode with a friend that you think would find it useful, that would be amazing as well. So thank you so much for your support. And let's get into the conversation. So last week we discussed specifically some fun phrases that live streamers use during their streams. And this week, we wanted to continue talking about live streaming in China because live streaming, I think, was one of the most popular topics over the past couple months during the coronavirus period. I feel like, we in our newsletter, we always talk about e-commerce live streaming. But I feel like over the past couple of months, e-commerce live streaming has become one of the main topics of our China marketing insights newsletter, just because really a lot of the interesting marketing campaigns that we saw over the past couple months during the coronavirus quarantine period were related to e-commerce live streaming. Like, you know, a lot of other types of marketing just didn't work as well or didn't see as much growth, or, you know, brands kind of stopped doing them during the virus period. But e-commerce live streaming just like really took off over this period. So today we want to talk about some, you know, specific ways that we saw the virus. That we saw some specific ways that we saw the live streaming industry grow and change during the virus period. I think the biggest one, one of the most noticeable things was that the number of people who watched live streams grew dramatically during this time period, because people were bored staying at home and they had nothing to do. So I think a lot of people who had maybe, you know, usually are really busy and maybe they've never watched an e-commerce live stream, they actually finally had the time to try it out and watch it. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I'm totally agree. So I read an article and then saw a very a crazy case. So there is a person. His name is Yuan San, and then he live streamed about when he was sleeping, and then in total he live streamed it for about 12 hours, and then it have 18.5 million views, and in the end he got 76,000 dashan or tips. So that's very crazy. Like
76,000 RMB worth of tips?
Yes.
That's crazy. And he was just sleeping.
Yes, he's just laying there and then sleep. And this also make him very surprised. He doesn't expect so many people will be interested in his sleeping.
I think you had also shared that there was a cat sleeping that got 20 million viewers as well, which is absolutely crazy. And then, of course, I think a lot of people probably heard about in the news that they had a live stream of the building new hospitals in Wuhan, and a lot of people watched that as well, because I think they were just, in shock that you could build a hospital that quickly. So a lot of people watched that as well. But, as far as e-commerce live streaming goes, you had shared a really interesting when Austin Lee, he took a break over the Spring Festival holiday, and he didn't live stream for, I guess, a couple of weeks. And then when he came back and he did his first live stream after the Spring Festival holiday, there were over 16 million viewers. Which is absolutely crazy. That's he usually gets a lot of viewers, but 16 million, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's really crazy. And then on that live streaming, usually after he counted 3 to 1, all the products was sold out. And then even a very big Chinese celebrity called Zhang Ziyi, she was asking how to get the product under Austin Lee's Weibo post.
Yeah, I remember you shared that with me, and I think everybody was so surprised, because here's this Chinese celebrity who she didn't really know how to, use e-commerce live streaming, or she just wasn't like fast enough. She wasn't faster than, the regular viewers. She wasn't able to buy his products because they were going so fast. But I also thought it was interesting that, during the virus period, a lot of the live streamers, they changed the types of products they were selling. Austin usually sells, I think, he became famous for selling lipstick and other beauty products. But, I think over the past year or so, he's also started to sell a lot of other types of products as well. But I think especially during the coronavirus period, it seemed like he really changed the products he was selling. Could you share like what types of products he was selling instead?
Yeah, so like during that coronavirus period, that crazy time, he was selling more health and fitness products, and then instant food, or for example, like self-made hot pops, snacks, and then he was also selling some sanitizers, like some sanitizing stuff.
Yeah, maybe more like products that were a bit more necessary when people were quarantined at home, instead of his usual beauty products. And then recently, I think he also, I think during the virus period, and then also recently, he's been doing a lot of kind of special streams to raise awareness about the virus or raise money for the virus. I think he did one just a couple of days ago, right?
Yes. And then I remember like during that period, he also did a charitable live streaming to have people raise money for Wuhan.
Yeah, I think a couple of the big live streamers held charity fundraisers to raise money for Wuhan, and still continue to do so. I think the one that he did recently, I think recently he did one that was promoting products coming from Wuhan. Since their economy is so bad right now. I think you had shared that he did one talking about different types of products that come from Wuhan and trying to drive some sales for those products.
Yes, and actually that one like went very popular because there was another celebrity Joy. His name is he is a host from CCTV. It is a very famous celebrity called Zhu Guangquan. And then in total, that live streaming has like 15.4 million people watching, and then it has achieved over 40 million sales.
And do you know like what kinds of, was it mainly like food products from Wuhan, or do you know what kind of products it was? I'm just curious.
Yes, mostly are food products. Like Wuhan is very famous for one kind of noodle. It's called 热干面, and then they were selling it, of course, and then there are other specialized, localized food.
Yeah, I mean, I think even though it's been kind of interesting, because even though like before the call you were sharing how things have gotten a lot more normal in China, and that people, stores are opening and things like that, but we're still seeing a lot of stories about live streams attracting huge viewer numbers and large sales. So I think that even though things are getting better, it seems like people are still quite interested in live streaming. So it'll be interesting to see as the recovery process, as things really get back to normal in China, like whether or not e-commerce live streaming remains as popular as it is right now. because it seems like a lot of people maybe tried it out for the first time over the past couple months, and now they're getting used to it now.
Yes, I feel like the virus is a catalyst for this the popularity of this live streaming.
Yeah, because I mean, it was like e-commerce live streaming had a really good year last year. I mean, it was really popular last year, but I feel like people being forced to stay at home and not have anything to do and not being able to go to stores, shopping. Like, I feel like you said, it was a catalyst. Like, it's really, really mainstream now. I feel like a lot of people who never tried it before have tried it now. So, it'll be interesting to see whether it can keep up. I think. So the other trend, the other thing that we noticed was, we said that like the number of viewers grew, but I think that also very notably, during the coronavirus period, the number of brands that were trying live streaming grew dramatically as well. And a lot of industries that had never considered live streaming before, tried live streaming. I saw a impressive statistic from Taobao Live. Taobao Live reported that in early February, live stream sessions on the platform had increased by 110% compared to the same period last year. So live stream sessions were 110% more than the year before. So that, I mean, to me, that shows that more brands are trying it, more streamers are streaming, people are doing it more often. That's a very significant amount of growth year over year.
Yeah, that's a very huge growth. And then like you mentioned before, lots of industry that they never did live streaming before were doing it during the period.
Yeah, I think some of the most interesting ones were a lot of brands or industries that were traditionally offline, that rely on physical stores or meeting with customers in person. A lot of them, started trying to use live streaming as a way to connect with people. Like a lot of real estate companies were doing showings, and auto dealerships were doing live streams. A lot of restaurants, even though the restaurants were closed, they were doing live streams. Like, there were so many different industries that you would never think of before. Which were there any industries that you thought were really interesting?
Yeah, there is. So nightclubs are doing live streaming as well, and there is a very popular nightclub in Shanghai. It's called TAXX. I think it's called Tax. And then he live streaming his DJ doing DJing, and within 4 hours it got 700K 打赏 or tips from viewers. And then the next day, another famous nightclub, it called 1/3 live stream, and in that evening there were more than 1 million people watching it, and it received like nearly 2 million RMB in tips. So there's like a lot. I think even if they run the nightclubs for a month, they won't get that much income. But during live streaming, it's possible.
I'm just trying, like, I'm curious. I wonder if people that were watching, were they just like laying in bed listening to this DJ, or were they like actually dancing around their house? Like,
they must be dancing.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine like people who are watching the live stream, were they just like sitting there quietly watching the DJ? Like, I wish I could see what the viewers were actually doing while watching the stream.
Yeah, I can kind of imagine they like turn on and off the lights and then hit the pops or other stuff in their home to make the sound.
I thought one that was that was a little bit funny for me, was that there were some bookstores that were live
Mm.
streaming. I mean, I guess you could kind of talk about the book. I don't know. I thought that this one was a little bit difficult to make, a live stream about bookstores interesting.
Yeah, I think it will be bored.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could maybe if they did kind of like a lecture about the book, or maybe if they did like kind of a book club or something where people could
Mm.
discuss
Share.
discuss the
Yeah.
book and share their thoughts, like maybe that would work. But the examples that we had seen, they said they were live streaming about book classification and sharing techniques for how to find a book in a bookstore quickly. Which is an important technique to learn, I guess.
Yeah. It is.
I don't know. I think that's a little bit odd. So, I mean, I think, like I said, I think it could have been interesting, but I'm not sure that those two topics, are going to be very valuable to listen to. I think the real estate one is a great idea though, just because obviously, that industry had to have been hit really hard, because people couldn't go in person to see the house. So I'm sure that doing the live streams of the various homes would definitely help a lot. But I think when I was reading about this, the only thing that came to mind was whether or not they would actually convert, like whether or not, I think that live streaming would be a really good way to introduce people to the properties. But I feel like for someone, unless maybe you're very rich and you're using it as like an investment property or something like that, I feel like people are still going to want to make a trip to go see the house before they spend that much money on it. So I feel like it would be really good, but just, I think it would be really hard to close a sale. I think the article that we had seen said that, out of 80,000 viewers, then only one property was sold, after 80,000 people saw it. So, but I mean, I guess when you're selling a house, the price is so high, you should expect a pretty low conversion rate. So I guess one is better than zero,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I feel like that's still a tough thing to sell through a live stream.
Yes. I think the live streaming for real estate can serve as a hook to just to hook viewers in. And I think some of them, maybe they will have the intention to buy a property, but they just want to see it personally after the coronavirus. So they just haven't made the purchase. I think that one one order, the person who paid for the property must be very rich.
Yeah, and I think maybe it would be really interesting for all of the real estate companies, like, to, because I feel like this would be a much more long-term play. Like, they might not have sold that many houses during the coronavirus period, but it would be really interesting to see, say like 6 months from now, if they look at the houses that they sell in like 6 months from now, how many of those people can they track back to, say, how many of those people maybe first saw the house or first saw that, that specific neighborhood or that development, they saw it through the live stream and then they became interested that way. And then, later on in a couple months from now, they actually go visit it in person and decide to buy one of the properties. I think maybe this would be a much longer term play than just like see it in a live stream and then buy it right away,
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
And I think that I think a lot of car brands have been doing live streaming for a while now. So I don't think that was anything too new. I feel like a lot of the car brands have been doing this since e-commerce live streaming came out. Another case study that you had shared was what Dior did for their fashion show this year. Since a lot of since Chinese celebrities and influencers couldn't go to all of the fashion weeks, Dior came up with another way to get everyone involved in their fashion show. So maybe you could share that example.
Yes. So Dior, it did a live streaming about its fashion show, and it has 6 ambassadors and then 6 KOLs and other 16 fashion media content creators to involve in this live streaming to just to interact with viewers, and it received quite well response. It gets 10 million views, and it also became a hot topic on Weibo at that time, and the hot topic has like 100 million people participated. And I feel like Dior is very smart. It has like 6 ambassadors, so 6 celebrities joining this, including Angela Baby, Zhang Xueying, Zhao Liying, and then other 3 ambassadors. And then Dior have them change their Weibo profile image to make the announcement that Dior is going to have a live streaming. And I think that's why he get quite well response, because in total, like these 6 celebrities followers on the internet have over 250 million. So the news is spread out everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a lot of brands have live streamed their fashion shows before, but I think that, like you said, this one was pretty notable because they did such a good job of promoting it, and they got a lot of people involved in it. So the actual turnout and viewers and all of the buzz about it was really good. I think a lot of brands have tried live streaming before, live streaming their fashion shows, and I don't think they've done quite as well as this one.
Yes.
Yeah. I think also the other day, very recently on April 5th and April 6th, the Palace Museum, or the Forbidden City, whatever you want to call it. I never know which one to call it. It has like 2 names.
I don't know why.
They did their first ever live streaming. So that's another industry, like the tourism industry. I think there have been famous tourism sites throughout China who have done live streams. I heard about some others that did live streams as well, but I thought that the Palace Museum live streaming, that was the first time that they've ever held a live stream, and they had like several sessions, and it was like they had a tour of the Palace Museum, with people, with someone, a tour guide introducing different parts of the museum. So that was a pretty big deal that they are involved with e-commerce, or not e-commerce, but they're involved with live streaming now too.
Yes. So the Palace Museum is considered as the biggest Wanhong in China, and for 600 years, it did like its first live streaming after like during this coronavirus. So I think it means a lot for other tourist spots.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll definitely see more tourist spots following in their footsteps. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive how the last couple of years the Palace Museum has become so trendy. Like they're always on top of all of the newest. They collaborate with so many brands now and have all these sold out collections, and they're always trying different social media platforms. It's so interesting how trendy they've become.
Yes, like even though they have a long history, they are trying to become young.
But I think they do a good job of it. Like they became, a lot of young people love the products that the Palace Museum puts out. But they do it in a way that's like very respectful of the history and the tradition, I think. They're not like making it cheap looking.
Yes, they don't. And then the design, to be honest, is very cute.
Yeah, they kind of go back into all of the their collections and they find different patterns and colors. I think that they have, even though they've done so many collections already with, so many collaborations already with different brands, I feel like they could just keep going for a really long time because the Palace Museum has such a large collection and such a long history that they have so much inspiration to draw off of that they'll just be able to keep doing collaborations and none of them will look the same.
Yeah, like so many things to discover.
I think, when I think of e-commerce live streaming, the first platform that comes to mind is Taobao, because they, to me, are like the original, the we'd say here in like America, like the OG of e-commerce live streaming, the original e-commerce live streaming platform. And so, I mean, that's typically, I think, e-commerce live streaming, and I immediately think of Taobao. But, over the coronavirus period, there was a bunch of other platforms that have been slowly testing e-commerce live streaming. And then as soon as the coronavirus hit and e-commerce live streaming started to become really popular, all of a sudden these brands officially launched. I mean, not these brands, these platforms officially launched their e-commerce live streaming functionality. And so the two main platforms that did it were WeChat and Xiaohongshu, or Little Red Book. They both of them during this period, I think both of the platforms had been testing e-commerce live streaming for most of 2019. And then as soon as the coronavirus hit, they immediately rushed to launch these products to the public, because I think they don't want to miss out on this huge demand for e-commerce live streaming. I think so far, Xiaohongshu, I don't feel like it's doing too well. What do you think?
No, it's not doing well. After it has officially opened its live streaming function, Louis Vuitton did a live streaming on Xiaohongshu, but it was not great because I feel like the settings and then the settings and then the resolution of the live streaming that make it look like a cheap Taobao clothes store doing live streaming, and it only got 15,000 people watching it. So I don't think it's good. Even Louis Vuitton can't get much attention on this platform.
Yeah, I when I saw the pictures, I mean, I completely agree with you. if you look at their set, it's really lame. Like you said, it looks like it's a cheap Taobao store. They had like, I'm trying to remember, but didn't they have like kind of like a string with a bunch of scarves hanging off of it, and then they have like this little house or something? I don't know. It looks really cheap.
Yeah.
It looks like they were like, oh, what do we have laying around that we can make a little set out of, and then we can sit on some stools. And I don't know. It didn't look like, I mean, I think that. So like when you're doing an e-commerce live stream, I think you want it to be casual in some respects, because you want to feel, you don't want things to be too perfect. You don't want it to have like a perfect script and there's like no interaction with the audience. You want it to be, you want the host to be a little bit casual. You want it to be, a little bit raw. If it was perfect, then it wouldn't be as interesting for viewers. But like at the same time, you need to, especially if you're a luxury brand, you need to make it look like you put some effort into it. And like the set should represent your brand. Like to me, if it was Louis Vuitton or, any of these luxury brands, it should be in like, I feel like the set should be a beautiful room with like some really nice furniture, some kind of pictures on the wall. Like it should be like a beautiful setting that like matches the sophistication of the brand. Or maybe if they were going for something that was more trendy, it depends on like what kind of product, like which line they're selling, are they selling which items they're selling, right? Maybe they were selling more like streetwear type stuff, then maybe you want it to be trendy, but like it should still be like maybe really more modern design, like room or something. But they're just like you said, the set looked super cheap. Like it just looked like they threw it together and like it almost looked like a kid's playroom or something. I don't know, it just looked really cheap. And then it was like you said, there was 15,000 viewers, and I mean, for a brand live stream, that's not horrible. A lot of brands, like the e-commerce live streaming hosts like Austin and Via, they get a ton of views because they're like these huge famous hosts. And, a lot of brands, when they live stream, they don't get as many viewers. But still, 15K is on the pretty low side. Like, I would have expected they could have, I don't know, maybe they just didn't promote it very much. Maybe they were trying to keep it small because they were like testing it out. Maybe they didn't promote it as much. They wanted to just like try it out first. And, but yeah, it seems 15K is not much at all.
Yeah, I feel like it's not enough for a brand, especially for a luxury brand.
Yeah, I mean,
it deserves more.
Like back when I was a live streamer, like I was doing, entertainment live streaming, not e-commerce live streaming, but I sometimes had like 15,000 people watching simultaneously, like all at once. Like I've had like 30,000-40,000 people watching all at one time. So for them to have a total of 15,000, it's like if I had a live stream and only 15,000 people came in my live stream, that would have been like a really bad day for me. Like maybe that was like one of the first couple of times that I live streamed. Like that would be like, for me that would have been like a really, really low number. So yeah, I don't know, it's pretty but I think so with the Xiaohongshu live streaming, I think that the biggest issue that they have right now is that it's not easy to find the live streams. Like I've gone on the app, I go on the app quite a bit, and they haven't put it in like a really prominent position. It's like when you open up the app, they haven't really tried to, they don't have like a a special tab for it,
Yes.
or like it doesn't seem like they're trying to get people to watch it.
They are hiding it.
Yeah. Yeah, they really are. I think the only if you go to the like I forget what they said. Like, I think you have to put in, it's either like if somebody that you're following is live streaming, then you'll see that. Or if you, go to the explore page and then you search for live streaming, then it pulls up kind of like a hot topic, like one of the hashtag topics. It'll pull up a page that looks like that. And then it has all of the live streams on it. Yeah, it's the Xiaohongshu 直播. Like if you go on there, there's like a page and you can follow the live streaming page. Which is so weird. Like why would you design it like that?
Yeah.
And then I think one of the articles that I read, it said that they're also putting some live streams like in the home feed, but I haven't seen any live streams in my home feed so far.
Yeah, I mean,
Have you?
no. I feel it is, if you want to see a live streaming, I remember you have to follow that person and then kind of subscribe to it.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did the live streaming, you will get the notification. Otherwise, you won't see anything.
Yeah, which seems really odd. Like I understand why it might be like that when you're beta testing it, but now that you've launched it and you're going public with it, you think you would want to make it really easy to find so that people can start watching it, but it's not. So it's very strange. Another thing that, you know, a lot of the articles were saying that is that, you know, people are kind of wondering if live streaming on Xiaohongshu is going to be any good because, you know, are the KOLs on Xiaohongshu, you know, do they have that skill set? Do they have that personality to be a good streamer? You know, the type of content that usually does well on Xiaohongshu is you know, is a lot of written content or videos that are packed full of tips, you know, and they're kind of saying, well, you know, I'm not sure that, you know, how good are these KOLs going to be at live streaming?
Yeah, and then Xiaohongshu also has another problem, but like it won't affect brands too much. So Xiaohongshu, if you like, for example, if you see something you like on Xiaohongshu, you are being 种草, or you feel like, yeah, okay, this is the product that I'm gonna buy, and you won't buy this. Usually, a user won't buy it on Xiaohongshu. They will go to another platform like Taobao to search for the products and then make an order on Taobao. So Xiaohongshu, it doesn't have lots of order. And I think that is also one problem that they are trying to solve.
Yeah, like maybe even if somebody sees a e-commerce live stream on Xiaohongshu, they might be thinking, but if I would this product be cheaper if I get it from a Taobao live stream? You know, they might be thinking something like that. So yeah, it's not the best platform for conversion. I think the other platform I mentioned, you know, WeChat finally launched their mini program live streaming function. They've been testing it for a long time. They've been having a lot of different brands, like you could apply to test it out. But now it's officially launched. Anybody can use it. And I've seen a lot of different brands that have been trying it out. I think a lot of brands that already have, strong audiences on WeChat, and a lot of brands that have been using the private traffic strategy on WeChat of building up these WeChat groups. I think, e-commerce live streaming on WeChat is going to be really good for brands like that, because they can then, start live streaming on the mini program, and then they can share the mini program into the WeChat groups, and people will, can just click right in and start watching the live stream. So I think we've seen a lot of positive results so far, from lots of different brands that are trying it.
Yes, and then there is statistics are showing that the conversion rate of a mini program live streaming is 2 to 3 times higher than other platforms. So I think it's very positive.
Yeah,
it's a platform that brands can try.
Yeah, I think one of our favorite brands to watch, Perfect Diary. I've seen they've been doing a lot of live streams. I just watched one this morning, actually. So they and they're not new to live streaming. I mean, they do a lot of live streams on Taobao as well. So now they have a team that's doing live streams on Taobao, and then at the same time they have people doing live streams on WeChat. So that they're doing and they're different live streams. Like they're holding different ones on Taobao than they are on WeChat. So I think they're probably they've hopped on this WeChat live streaming trend like really, really quickly. And when I saw it this morning, they had like 20, how many? When I watched a stream this morning, they had Arsher one. Yeah, so they had over 200,000 people.
Wow.
Like total, yeah. I think. Right? Wait, I don't know if that's total or yeah. It said that they had Arsher one. So I think that's the total number. I don't think that's the number of like simultaneous viewers. That would have been a little much, but yeah, so you can see that they're doing a lot better than Louis Vuitton.
Yes. How long did you watch the live streaming? Like
not that long, maybe like 10 minutes or so. I just popped into because I saw it. I'm in one of their private traffic WeChat groups, and I was scrolling through the group and I saw that they were doing a live stream, so I jumped in. So that's why I think that, that it'll do, because okay, so for somebody like me, I don't turn notifications on very often. So like if I was following somebody on Xiaohongshu and then they started live streaming, like I wouldn't get the notification for that because I don't turn the notifications on. And then like if somebody, I don't have my notifications on even for like Taobao live streaming and stuff. But with WeChat, I use WeChat all the time. I'm in there talking to people. I'm in there for work. I'm in WeChat all the time. So like this morning I was, on WeChat, and then I just happened to look in that group and saw that the live stream was going on. And so, so I joined it. So that's why I think that WeChat has a lot of potential, because people are just gonna kind of accidentally, like the same thing. I was on WeChat looking through some articles and just kind of catching up on articles. And I saw that, Seku was doing some e-commerce live streams, and so I just happened to jump in and start watching some of their live streams on WeChat. So I've already experienced like several times where I'm not planning on watching live streaming, but because it's on WeChat and because I'm like always in WeChat and looking at content on WeChat, I just keep happening to like accidentally watch these live streams. So yeah, I mean, I could see why it would be successful just for that reason.
Yes, I mean, after all, the WeChat is the biggest social media platforms in China. It has a huge fan base. It's hard for you to ignore like notifications from WeChat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, I think a lot of brands have been trying WeChat, and sometimes I think something else that we saw that was another trend during the coronavirus period when it comes to live streaming was that not all of the brands were streaming to drive sales. Like some of the brands were holding live streams just to keep users engaged, keep them thinking about the company, like more educational type live streams, and not just to sell products.
Yes, like they are doing it just to 种草, to recommend the product to viewers, and then they are telling viewers that once the virus gets finished, then they can go to have it, because the logistic during the coronavirus is locked out. So they have to buy. So it's the live streaming are acting like a pre-hit or pre-sale of products.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was really interesting. I think that it's really crazy that so many people were still purchasing products through these e-commerce live streams, even though they didn't actually know when the product was going to be delivered. Like they didn't actually know when it would arrive. But then, there was also some brands who were, for example, like a lot of fitness brands or like fitness apparel brands were just holding fitness classes. They weren't actually trying to like sell anything. Or like we mentioned, some of the restaurants, they were showing people like how they cook their food. Even though you might not be able to order their food or get their food, you could see how it was being made, and it would maybe make you like think about it. Or yeah, I mean it was, I'm trying to think about what else they did. But yeah, there was a lot of different types of brands that were also just doing live streams as a way to keep top of mind with consumers and have consumers be thinking about their brand, even though they couldn't maybe actually purchase it or go visit that restaurant or something like that.
Yes, like the bookstore that we mentioned before, it might be a little bit boring, but yeah, they are not selling books. They are telling people how to do the classifications and how to find a book.
I think we also another trend that we saw that was interesting was that a lot of brands started to have their sales associates do the live streams. So instead of instead of the brand holding like an official live stream, or instead of working with one of the big the top live streamers, a lot of brands or a lot of department stores were having their sales associates do live streams. So, maybe hundreds of sales associates were, live streaming, and I think they could do it whenever they wanted to. It wasn't like something that was set by the brand, it was just kind of because the sales associates, they couldn't go to the store and work. So instead of going to the store, they just all started selling products through live streams.
Yeah. The Chinese department store in town, they have begun began collaborating with Alibaba in last April to launch the Taobao Sales Woman Plan. And then this plan is now paying off. And so during this coronavirus, they have their sales associates live streaming at their house, and they are driving sales. Like some of them could ask serve to drive sale, and then for the most of them, they are there to maintain and develop the relationship with their old and new customers. So it is a very good practice for department store.
Yeah, and I think that, some of them also just saw it as a way, like they could interact with new potential customers, and then even, once they're able to go back to the store, those customers could also come visit them at the offline location. So it was also, like you said, part of it was for driving sales, and then part of it was just for, relationship building, trying to get some new local clients to come visit them at the shop once the shop reopens.
Yes. And then I saw one sales associate. She was very smart. So she listed her the customers that they liked the product, but they didn't make the payment. So she contacted them and used the Spring Festival bonus to encourage them to buy something. So, and they also found that customers during this period is more talkative and more engaged in live streaming because they have nothing to do at home.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, is like a lot of I felt like multiple reports that we saw, a lot of the live streamers said that they felt like it was easier to develop relationships and engage with their audience during this time period, because not only were more people watching live streams, but people were actually taking the time to actually send comments and engage with the streamer. Maybe instead of just being a passive viewer, maybe they were like, a lot of times when people are really busy going to work, maybe they're just watching the live stream during their commute or having lunch, or, laying in bed, and maybe they're just tired and they're not really interacting much. But I think that during the coronavirus period, a lot of viewers were much more willing to engage with the streamers and ask more questions. So it was a really good opportunity for for these sales associates to develop relationships with all of the viewers, and then hopefully they can continue those relationships even after people get back to their normal work schedules and back to their normal lives. They've already taken the time to establish that relationship. So yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot of information, kind of bounced around here and there. But I mean, I think that the key thing for people to take away is that, obviously e-commerce live streaming experienced a lot of growth over the past couple of months, whether it's more viewers, more platforms that are launching these e-commerce live streaming capabilities, more different industries that are trying e-commerce live streaming. Brands are doing it more often. I think a lot of brands are also just trying to hold e-commerce live streaming sessions by themselves, and not always relying on working with a KOL to do it. I think that's another trend that we saw. So I really think that it'll be super interesting to see that how e-commerce live streaming continues to develop as everything gets back to normal in China and all the stores are reopening, will e-commerce live streaming still stay as popular? Are brands going to keep using it just as much? Are people going to continue to buy a lot of products from it? So I think it's going to be really interesting. But I do think that no matter what, now there's a lot of people who have become more accustomed to watching live streams and purchasing from live streams. So I do think that we will definitely see some more growth over the rest of the year. What do you think? Do you think people are going to keep using it even after life goes back to normal?
I feel like the number maybe drop a little bit, but it won't like dramatically drop because live streaming is addictive. Watching live streaming is a very enjoyable thing. Like you just let your mind go with the live streamer. And yeah, but I don't think there will be a big drop in the number of people watching live streaming. So yeah, it is still like a very promising area that brand can try.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that interview with today's guest. You can find links to their contact info and detailed show notes for this episode on ChinaInfluencerMarketing.com. If you liked this episode and know somebody else who might like it too, don't forget to share. Thanks, and talk to you next week.